Welcome everyone. Steve Brady, the Commodore here. I'd like to welcome you all to tonight's session. We're going to have a safety briefing from Oliver from Maritime New South Wales, set up for the start of the season. First thing I'd like to do though is to welcome everyone and acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands we're meeting on. I'm joining you from the lands of the Wongal people of the Eora Nation, which is the land on which the Drummoyne Sailing Club sits. So firstly, we'll have Oliver give us our safety briefing. We're then going to just talk to you about the start of the sailing season. And so Craig, our Vice Commodore, is going to walk through the setup for the start of the season. And then we're going to hand over to Warwick Plumstead, our sailing manager, who's going to lead us through a bit of fun and frivolity with the trivia. So without further ado, I might just hand over to Oliver. Welcome, Oliver. Thanks very much for taking the time to join us. I might just note that
pleasure.
Oliver's actually out on the water, so this is technology at its best. Live broadcast.
Evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here tonight. So, I'm actually here patrolling under Sydney Harbour Bridge. They're doing some works under the south side, so we just have to stop traffic coming through while they do that till about 3 in the morning. So I'm in for a long haul, but should be good. So let's get the presentation out of the way. I'll do my share screening thing, see how that all works. All right, okay, let's go. So here's the basic agenda tonight. Life jacket rules, inflatable life jacket servicing requirement, safety equipment, navigation lights, the rules and regs for sailing, incident reporting, and flare disposal. So obviously the major thing with you guys, I mean, you guys all have your safety checks internally anyway, so we're pretty guys carry all the right stuff. But obviously the one thing that always gets caught up is when you're alone on your tender, have to wear that life jacket. So Maritime has a zero tolerance policy when it comes to life jacket rules. So yeah, make sure when you're rowing out to your boat, you've got that life jacket on. Inflatable life jackets. So I'm sure you guys know every year you have to, well, it's generally every year, it's the manufacturer's requirements of your particular life jacket, but you have to get them serviced. Refer to the manufacturer of your particular life jacket. We tell you exactly what you need to do, but essentially you're measuring the bulb, CO2 bulb, making sure it's full of gas, making sure the green indicators are there and they're not red, which means that the cylinders still got gas in it, and also that for the auto inflating mechanism that's still all good to go, and basically involves blowing up the life jacket, making sure it stays inflated for 24 hours. But yeah, as I said, all life jackets are a little bit different, so just refer to the manufacturer's instructions. That's basically kind of what I went through. We actually come across a lot of times corroded cylinders. Life jackets have been left in the water, salty water even worse. So yeah, always just keep them dry, and where they're not going to get damaged, it's probably the best thing you can do. Safety equipment, well, you guys are all pretty familiar with this, I imagine. Is there anything in particular anyone would like me to go through regarding the safety equipment required to be carried on your boats?
Oliver, probably, what should we be carrying on our tenders as we row out to our yachts?
Yeah, so your tenders, if they're under 3 meters and within, I believe it's 200 meters from the shore, then it's you're exempt from carrying your safety equipment as long as you have your bailing bucket. I think it's bailing bucket, set of paddles. I think it's just here actually. It's on the actual thing. Yeah, you need to have your paddles or oars. If it's at night, a waterproof torch, and yeah, a bucket or bilge pump. So you're actually exempt from carrying life jackets, but you still need to wear them when that's appropriate. So when you're by yourself, or if it's after sunset, before sunrise. Does that all make sense?
Yep, that's great. Thanks.
Right, let's move on. Okay, navigation lights. The tricolours on the top mast we are not recommended, basically for your own safety, just because, as you guys all know, at night in Sydney Harbour, there's so much light from the houses and the city that they easily just get can't see them, basically. So not recommended. Still okay to have them, but yeah, not the best. And obviously, when you're under motor, you have to have your steaming and stern light on. When you're sailing, obviously just the port starboard, but and obviously the anchor light when you're anchor. So the rules and regs, obviously when you're racing amongst your own vessels, you follow your own rules, basically, the Australian sailing rules. But interactions with other vessels and other races, in fact, the coal regs. So sure you guys are aware of your who gives way to who, but we'll go through that a little bit more. Starting with overtaking. Obviously, well, this one people can not be aware of, but even if you're a sailing vessel, if you're overtaking a power vessel, you still have to give way to it. So, yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Narrow channels. So narrow channels, what's a narrow channel or not can be a bit subjective, but basically, if there's a large enough boat that kind of struggles to maneuver within the space, you can consider that to be a narrow channel. And in that case, if you're less than 20 metres, you must give way. You must keep clear of it. That's probably of most importance with you guys around Cockatoo. There, we get on busy race days. I know how congested it gets there, and I know how difficult it is trying to give way, but they're basically the kind of the rules that govern your kind of license or whatever. So I know it's difficult, but if the more you can help out the ferries and the other boats, and less complaints we get, and like the less issues, the better for everyone, really. So yeah. Yeah, the orange diamond on the Manly ferries and the first fleeters, priority over sail. That said, you guys are kind of required to not get in the way of any ferry, even if they don't have the diamond. So it's basically pretty straightforward there. Yeah, large vessels hasn't really been too much of an issue last couple of years, but cruise boats will be coming back soon, kind of thing. So I imagine it's going to get pretty busy. So big ships, yeah, keep 500 metres from the bow, 30 metres from the side and stern, and ferries 200 metres from the bow. Responsibility between vessels. Yeah, so just a reminder, if you are under power, even if you've got some sails up, you're still considered to be a power-driven vessels, and must follow the appropriate kind of rules for a power-driven vessel. Sure. And yeah, not like obviously bow lining is one that often gets caught up on sailing boats. If you're under power, make sure everyone's got their legs in. The safe watermark, so this obviously only applies to the yacht races with you guys at twilight events. So yeah, keep it to port if possible. Obviously that's mainly to help clear up the Western Channel, especially around Bradley's Head, because we've got a whole bunch of boats coming in through there on the wrong other side of that safe watermark. Things kind of blocks everything up, and it's kind of a bit of a blind spot, as I'm sure you guys know. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Don't navigate between the moorings while you're competing. I think it speaks for itself. Incident reporting, within your own races, you follow your own reporting, like incidents between your own vessels, you follow your own reporting guidelines. With other vessels, here it's got, if there's damage above 10%, but I know it's also above $5,000, or if there's any injuries, then you have to fill out the incident report form, which you can find pretty easily from a Google search, or it's on this slide here, which you can refer back to. Yeah, obviously under 0.05 for recreational boats, if you're going to be drinking and skippering. So the commercial vessel operators, it probably not apply much to you guys, maybe tender boats that are taken throughout and stuff like that perhaps, but yeah, just be careful with the drink, obviously. Flare disposal, so yeah, check out our website for the latest on, there's a whole bunch been put on recently, I believe. So if you guys need to get rid of some flares, might be a handy time to check out what those dates and locations are where you can get rid of those, your old flares. Yeah, the COVID safe, well, that's all happening at a rapid pace. It looks like maybe even next Monday we go through the whole new set of restrictions easing. So I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to that. The police are basically the people to ask regarding like specific questions for COVID restrictions and things like that. They're the ones heading all that. So we basically just kind of follow their lead as well. So yeah, that's all changing. So yeah, any questions?
Thanks, Oliver. Is there any questions from any of the audience?
Under the harbour bridge, when you go through, all the commercial vessels I know are required to stay to the port side. If they're sailing through, are they still required to do the same things to keep to the port side of the channel? Or so, sorry, the starboard side of the channel? Well,
technically, if you can do that, I know if you're like kind of tacking from side to side, so you still kind of are meant to keep to the right-hand side of the channel, just because you'll end up a head-on situation between the commercial. Well, basically any boat, recreational boats, will have to go on the right-hand side as well. Obviously, it's a rule that gets missed by a lot of, especially newer recreational boats. I mean, you could be sitting under the bridge telling people all day, keep to the right, and it'll still keep happening. But the more people that do it, the easier it is for everyone, really. So yeah, it's kind of as much as practically possible is my answer to that, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Okay, by the way, I've actually muted everyone who's listening. I've actually muted everybody. So if you want to ask a question, if you unmute yourself and butt in, that would be fantastic.
Sounds like everyone's all up to date with the rules.
Sounds like it.
Surely.
You've done a fantastic job, Oliver, obviously. Thanks very much for taking the time to join us while you're on duty out in the water.
No, that's my pleasure. I'm sure you guys are itching to get out there and get some racing done. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer.
Certainly is. We're going to be talking a little bit later about kicking off our season and getting underway, and I think everyone's absolutely roaring to get out there. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys have noticed how many kayakers and like supporters and stuff like that are out there now. So that's going to be another obstacle for everyone.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I think I saw 10 of them pulled up on the beach next to the sailing club last weekend. So I don't think I've ever seen so many out in our local waters.
No,
We have had just a query come through from TD, whoever TD is. They've just asking about ferry requirements, that, you know, when we're having a start and so forth like that. So we're all grouped together and the ferries come through. What's the expectation on that basis, and what are our requirements?
Well, I mean, the requirements are you guys keep out away from the ferries. So it's kind of up to you how to try and like avoid, I guess, as possible, starting a race in front, like as soon as the ferry's coming through. But I mean, your race organisers will know better than me how to kind of organise that. Obviously, it's not always possible to kind of do that. So yeah, it's kind of just a matter of everyone trying to do their best to keep things essentially safe out there.
Is there a preference from, and you may not be able to answer this, but is there a preference from ferry drivers about how yachts should behave if they're in front and they realise that they need to keep clear? Should we stand on, or should we do whatever we can to try and get it out of the way, or what's the preferred? Is there a preference for what ferry drivers would prefer us how to respond?
I guess the preference for the ferry drivers would be how they can most easily kind of negotiate going around you guys. So where the obvious kind of leave the space available where their obvious kind of transit would be. So obviously when there's a larger gap to one side, maybe kind of leave that option for the ferries to use. I assume that would be their preference in regards to that. And if you're going to make a manoeuvre, always do it with plenty of time. Make it obvious as per the coal regs, just so they know what's happening. So yeah, probably best not to do anything last minute.
Be predictable.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, thank you. If there are no other questions, we might let Oliver get back to his work, and just thank him very much for his time and making himself available to meet with us tonight. So thanks very much, Oliver.
Thank you.
No worries, guys. Enjoy your
Thanks, Oliver.
meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.